Well, I can start, Michole, by telling you how much I'm enjoying the series so far. Really enjoying it.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
Uh, yeah. I'm going to begin by asking just how important you think it is to recognize that everyone has a story and there's a lot more to each person than what we might read on Wikipedia. Because what I loved about this was it really felt like it was giving a really good, very human overview of someone's life that might have been written about many times but never really explored in this way.
Yeah, no, I think it's extremely important. And I think it's a great time to be able to see these multi-dimensional characters in a Black family. It's just, and all the layers there to see that they come from a very strong and solid family, but then there are all these things on the outside that they create problems. That they do come from they don't come from a broken home, but they come from a broken neighborhood. And how you mix these two things together and they kind of clash, but they're doing everything that they can to try to take care of their family. Um, and I just think that's important to understand that it's not the family that's broken.
Yeah. I was quite obviously new to this whole story. I didn't know anything about it really, but I'm in London, so I'm quite far away. And yeah, is this story and this family is it something that regular people in the US might know about? Is it something you knew about before getting involved?
I think a lot of people do know about BMF. Like, it's a big thing. So, but I was not really familiar with it. But it's been really quite a journey learning about their story and their life. And I just feel like I personally, even though I grew up in Chicago, which is right next door to Detroit. I grew up in the inner city and all of that stuff, but this was not exactly my personal experience. So, because of this and learning more about this story, I feel like I have a deeper understanding of what happens in communities like this and why things happen in this way. And I think that more support needs to be created for them.
Was it in terms of going back to this era? Was that quite interesting for you? Were you just kind of looking at what some of the clothes characters were wearing, going, "I used to own a pair of those trainers" or something?
Right. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, it's a trip. Like, I was just watching the show yesterday and like seeing it all put together, like with the music and all this, and it was like, it was so good. But it's not my favorite style, the 80s, but yeah, like I don't look back and go, oh, I wish I had that outfit, again. But you know, but yeah, it was a trip because it was all very familiar, all very, very familiar. Yeah.
So well, at what point? Because obviously it's all based on a true story and it's based on a real woman. Your character, I mean. At what point do you have to separate the real person from the character on the page? Is that quite a tricky balance to get right? Because in some ways you're doing the real person a service by portraying them and portraying their story, but at the same time it's a piece of entertainment and you do have a duty to serve the screenplay, the script, I should say. So
Yeah.
how's that kind of balance
Right.
yeah, the authenticity with the entertainment value too?
I think as an actor, for me, I just have to focus on what is the truth of the character really. And so I'm focusing on that, and then I have the opportunity to actually talk to the real person. So I kind of infuse those two things together, and I'm not necessarily thinking about how I'm going to entertain people necessarily. I'm just focused on how can I express the truth of this person, and this real person, and if I'm just approaching the character itself, how can I express the truth?
How was it meeting the real Lucille? What did you kind of learn from those experiences spending time with her?
I mean, just the first time I actually met her on FaceTime, and just seeing her face, she totally looks like my family. Like she favors my mom actually so much, and she just favors me. Like, you have to see a picture of us like next to each other. Like, it's like, whoa. So there was that, and there was just a lot of emotion and stuff and excitement. It's just as exciting for her to, see herself being portrayed on screen, and just, it was really important to her for her part of the story to be shared, because people don't talk about that much, and where the boys actually came from. But it was just, I mean, I've never played a living person like that, but there's a real kinship and understanding already. Like, I really had a deep connection to her before I even met her. So it's beautiful.
Is it right you filmed in her real house? That's what Lil Meech was saying earlier? Were you shooting in the house that she lived in? Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I going to Detroit, and being from Chicago, but I got to go there like closer to the end of shooting. So I wish I had been able to see it there, like when we first started shooting, because it like informs so many things, like the feeling that you get when you're there, and being in the house, and and it's just the same house that they grew up in, all this stuff. It was and meeting other people in the community it was just amazing. It really informed the work so much. So it was a gift to spend that time there.
Of course, I mean, there's always pressure on actors and actresses to get a character right. But when you're playing the grandmother of the leading actor in this, did that add another pressure? Because I guess you must have felt a sort of extra duty to get this right in front of him.
You know what? It didn't, honestly, there was so much of a connection already. I didn't really feel that pressure at all. Sometimes it was weird when he was calling me his grandma. I'm like, I ain't your grandma now. but but he kept saying, he's like, oh my gosh, you look like my grandmother. She would do that same thing. No, you feel like so much like her. Like, it was just like it was a perfect fit already without, I just felt like there wasn't all these things to do. I just needed to open my heart and just kind of listen, and having him there to connect with, we were just able to feed off each other in a really beautiful way.
It must have been great working with both him and Da Vinci too. I mean, there's such great performances, and it gives such a great kind of sense of hope for the kind of next generation of actors too.
Yeah, it was just great. Like, Da Vinci is so fun and silly. He's always cracking jokes there, here and there, and but both of them, and particularly Meech, because it's his first acting role. So it was just beautiful to be a part of, ushering him into this new world, and then watching him grow. I mean, it was just amazing. Like, from my first scene with him to watching him at the end of the series and stuff, it's just extraordinary how he really stepped into those shoes and just owned it. And just to see the fresh new excitement from them, it was inspiring to me, and really energized me in the work as well.
He was spoke very highly of 50 Cent as well, who sort of called him in the first place and sort of gave him the opportunity, really, and even put the thought in his head that he could play his own dad. Yeah. Did you have much? Did you collaborate much with 50 Cent on this at all? Was he involved on a kind of day-to-day basis?
Yeah, 50, he was definitely there the first day. The second day, he would, pop in a lot, and, he directed some, and I got to spend time with him when we were in Detroit, and had some really nice one-on-one time. But he is just, he's the sweetest guy, very humble, a little shy in a way. He's like a big teddy bear, and so supportive, and fun, and he shared so many things about his life and his journey, how he came to be in the place that he's in. And he's just such an inspiration, and I'm just in awe of the things that he has created for himself, from where he came from. It's extraordinary. It really, really is, and I'm so honored to be able to work with him. I am.
Looking, I was obviously this. I think just quite recently it was announced there was going to be a Fresh Prince reboot. I just wondered, do you know if they're going to recast Lisa?
Oh, that's hilarious that you asked me that question. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to recast the character that I play, but I know they're recasting every other character. So that's another great thing that's really interesting. It looks very creative what they're doing with that show, and I would love to be a part of that too.
Yeah. Well, no, my final question then really, because it was just, I mean, maybe I'm just getting, getting more nostalgic the older I get, but me and my wife we just decided to go back and just start watching Fresh Prince from the start again, because we got such great connection to that show when we used to watch it. And it is so good. And I know it's always been good, but I almost forgot just how funny and how brilliant it is. Do you ever watch it? Are you able to watch it and enjoy it like I do? I mean, because I know you were in it, but do you still appreciate it in the same way that all of us, millions of people?
Oh yeah, I mean, how can you not? I mean, that was like, I mean, I grew up watching the Fresh Prince, so yeah. And every character. You say Aunt Viv, you know exactly who is and what. And it was just a really fun show. It really was. So yeah, that was definitely. I get a little nostalgic watching it too. Yes.
Oh, well, they should try and get you into that reboot somehow.
I know. Thank you. From your lips to God's ears. I would love that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Michole. Best of luck. Yeah. Best of luck with the release.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just thinking about Fresh Prince. So if I had like $1, they played that episode that I did so much, you would think that I was like a regular on the show. And still to this day, that's one of the things that most people recognize me from. It's crazy, but it was a really great character, and I really had a great time doing that show. And Will Smith is a very kind guy, and it was great working with him too.
Yeah, well, the character was memorable and a great episode, so there's a reason why they play that one over and over again.
Yeah. Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey